discuss some important ideas. So we're going to start with hearing from these two amazing sisters. Michelle Alexander, you heard, wrote this book that has revolutionized people's understanding of what's happening in prison. I sometimes wonder what the NAACP and the Congressional Black Caucus do with that book.
Well, it's almost enough said. I have to say, that I first heard Angela speak about the emergence of this prison industrial complex decades ago, when I myself was still quite asleep to what was happening around me. I was in law school at the time, and I went to hear Angela speak at a high school in Monterey, California, in a gymnasium that was packed. And at the time, I was aspiring to be a public defender. And I thought, as I was graduating from law school, that I knew quite a bit about the criminal justice system. I had interned in a public defender office, and I thought I knew what was going on. And I heard Angela speak about there being writing on the wall of what was to come. And that if we continue the rate of incarceration, that we could have millions of people behind bars. And I remember shaking my head and thinking, millions? I know the system is bad, but... And then I went on and worked in public defender offices, worked as a civil rights attorney, working in communities hard hit by mass incarceration. And it took a series of experiences for the light bulb to finally go on for me. And like Skip Gates, I realized Angela was right. Our system of mass incarceration is truly the most pressing racial justice issue of our time. It is the vehicle through which the vehicle through which the clock on racial progress has literally been turned back. It is the retaliation against communities of color for the progress gained in the civil rights movement and in the Black Power movement. It is a backlash that we are experiencing, a political backlash that gained in steam at precisely the moment that the changes in global capitalism were wreaking havoc on inner city communities nationwide. As the Reagan Revolution gained steam, urban areas across America were experiencing sudden, drastic joblessness. Jobs just vanished from these communities. Factories closed down, moved overseas, technological innovations rendered hundreds of thousands of people now useless in this new global economy. And we had a choice in that moment about how to respond to hundreds of thousands of people locked in segregated communities, people who depended on factory jobs for their survival. We had a choice in that moment about how to respond. We could continue down the road that so many freedom fighters and racial justice advocates have been traveling, a road towards inclusion and justice. We could go down that road, or we could go down another road, a road more familiar when it comes to matters of race, the road of exclusion, punitiveness, oppression, and despair. And we chose the latter road. Mass incarceration is not only payback for the civil rights movement, but it reflects a fundamental choice that has been made about how we as a nation will define ourselves in this era of global capitalism. Who the winners and losers will be, how they will be defined, and how those at the bottom will be dealt with, and the message it will send to the rest of us. Mass incarceration is the most pressing racial justice issue of our time. I say there is no path to racial justice that includes this system of control. No path. So if we are going to work for racial justice, we must work to end mass incarceration. And what does that mean? In my view, that doesn't mean just closing prisons, although that is a big part of it, and we must begin with Attica. We also have to recognize that the system of mass incarceration isn't just about who's in jail or who's in prison, but it's about all those on the outside who are doing time on the outside, who are on probation, not parole, people who are saddled with felony records and must check the box for the rest of their lives. People are denied housing, access to basic public benefits, denied access to education because they've been branded a felon, branded a criminal. It is this entire caste-like system that's been created that must be undone. Today, of the 7.5 million people who are under correctional control today, less than 2 million of those people are actually in prison. All the rest of them are on jail or probation or on parole, firmly within the grip of this system, but not physically behind prison walls. So when we talk about ending mass incarceration, I hope